In the Ashanti Kingdom, tradition is not questioned. It is defended, with power, with fear, with war. And when love dares to rise against it, the kingdom does not bend. It breaks. The drums of Kumasi no longer sang of joy. They called for battle. Warriors gathered beneath a burning sky. Spears sharpened, hearts hardened. Not against strangers, but against their own people. Because rebellion had found its voice. Beyond the palace walls, Kwaku Dapa stood not as a weaver, but as a man reborn, a man who had lost everything, except the one thing that mattered, hope. And in his eyes, others found their courage. Within the palace, Amaserwa made her choice. No more silence. No more fear. If love had become rebellion, then she would stand within the fire. And Yaboki, a warrior bound by duty, finally saw the truth. This was no longer about protecting the kingdom. This was about controlling it. And for the first time, his loyalty began to crack. Then it began. Steel met wood. Cries filled the air. Brother turned against brother. The forest became a battlefield. And in the chaos, there were no heroes, only survivors. And in a single moment, everything changed. Amma was taken, surrounded, powerless. A princess, now a prisoner. But fate had one more cruelty to reveal, because the man who captured her was not an enemy. And just like that, love became war. War does not choose sides, it only takes. And in the Ashanti Kingdom, love was about to pay its price. Behind stone walls, Amaserwa sat in silence, stripped of title, stripped of power, but not of strength. Because even in darkness, her heart refused to surrender. Kwaku had changed, no longer just a man in love, but a man with purpose. This was no longer about rebellion. It was about bringing her home. The palace, once untouchable, now had cracks. Watched, studied, a path was found. Not to win a war, but to save one life. And within those walls, Yaw fought his own battle, not with weapons, but with truth. He had tried to end the chaos, but instead, he had become part of it. Under the cover of night, Kwaku returned. Silent, unseen, driven by one thing only, love. And then, for a moment, the war disappeared. Two hearts, finding each other again. But freedom demands a price. From the shadows, Yaw stepped forward. No anger, no pride, only clarity. He finally understood. Love was not weakness, it was truth. And so, he made his choice. He let them go, but not without cost. The alarm sounded. Guards rushed in, and Yaw stood between them. Alone, steel clashed. Time slowed. And in one final moment, the warrior fell. Not for duty, not for power, but for something greater. And as the night burned behind them, they escaped, carrying love and loss. Because some victories are paid for in silence. Time moves forward, even when hearts remain behind. And in its passing, it leaves behind stories. Some forgotten, and some that change everything. The war ended, but its echoes remained. In whispered names, in silent memories, in the story of a warrior who chose sacrifice over pride. In the palace, the Queen Mother stood alone. For the first time, not as a ruler, but as a woman facing the weight of her choices. Because power had not saved the kingdom, love had. Far away, Amma and Kwaku began again. No throne, no titles, just freedom. And in that freedom, they found something greater than power. Peace. Then came new life. A child, not bound by the past, but born from it. A living reminder that love can outlive even war. Back in Kumasi, something had shifted. Tradition no longer stood unchallenged. Voices, once silent, now spoke. Because one story had changed many. And one day, they returned, not in fear, not in hiding, but in peace. And the kingdom did not reject them, because time had done what war could not. It had healed. Before his resting place, they stood in silence. No words, only gratitude. Because without him, their story would have ended. And as the sun rose over the Ashanti Kingdom, The threads of their story remained, not as a tale of rebellion, but as a reminder that love, when brave enough, can rewrite destiny.